Hey, everybody. We're here, alive and thrive in Toronto, home of Blue Jays, Raptors, Maple Leafs, and Canadian psychic Robert Lindsay Milne. And that's me. Welcome to my side of the crystal ball. We have an exceptional show, exceptional guests. We have an exemplary show and two exemplary guests as well. In the experts chair tonight is Susan Waters. She's an intuitive, visionary artist. She channels angels as well, and she draws them and makes portraits and does angel type connections and intuitive readings as well. And Susan's going to be on the experts chair. And as well, the main event tonight is Sara Troy. And Sara is a podcast host. She's not just a podcast host, she owns a whole network. And she has done over 2,000 podcasts in the last 10 years. She is exemplary and also exceptional. Sara's going to be talking about her life causes, her life passions, the way she's grown and evolved, and her teachings. Before we get to these two fascinating guests, I have a couple of requests. If you're watching us on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. You can now, if you like, it gets us attention. It gets us, if you make a comment, it gets even more attention and we get higher ratings. And if you subscribe, once again, we'll get higher ratings, and subscriptions are complimentary, and you'll always be able to know when our latest podcast comes out. If you would, and by the way, you can find us on Apple, Spotify, and just about anywhere else you get your podcasts. You can find me personally on my website, www.robertlindsay.com. I'm still doing readings these days, and I have a couple of spaces every now and again, so you can give me a call on that. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. And now, without further ado, let's get this show going with WWRS. Have you ever considered free choice and free will? And what that means? And have you ever considered free choice and free will also is having whoever we want in our life? And we can have free choice and free will, and anyone we want, we can have in our life. It's up to us. So let's take a look at what that means, free choice and free will, to have anyone that you want in your life, or for that matter, out of your life or not in your life. So let's take the world's population, and let's imagine now, the world's population is around 7 billion, maybe a little bit more. I don't know the exact number, but for this model tonight that I'm going to be talking about, for the sake of easy with numbers, let's pretend that it's 6 billion, but we all know it's 7 and a little bit more. So 7 billion people on the planet, and we have free choice and free will to experience or be involved with or know anyone. So when we take that 6 billion and line them up shoulder to shoulder, at one end of the spectrum, about 25%, 1.5 billion people, 25%. And that group of people hate your guts. They do. They just hate your guts, and there ain't nothing you can do about it. If you try to do something about it, they'll hate your guts. And if you don't try to do anything about it, they'll hate your guts. And the reason that there's nothing you can do about it is because it's not about you. Those that hate your guts is because they look at you and they see in them what they hate in themselves. So they see in you what they hate in themselves. And regardless of what you do, they're going to hate you. That's the story. But then you can go to the other end of the spectrum, 1.5 billion, 25%, and they absolutely love you. They just think you're wonderful. They have your back. You're the most wonderful person in the whole wide world. They just love you. 1.5 billion. And here's the thing. There's nothing you can do about it, because if you try to do something about it, they'll love you. And if you don't try to do something about it, they're going to love you. And the reason for that is it's got nothing to do with you. It only has to do with what they see in you, they love in themselves. That's what it's about. So there's 1.5 billion that hate you, and then there's another 1.5 billion that think you're just wonderful. And then there's another 3 billion that go from the good side to the bad side. 6 billion people, and you have free choice and free will to hang out with whatever group you want. And whoever group that you're in, they're going to feel about you exactly how they see what's in you that comes out in them. So you have free choice and free will to hang out with anyone. I like to go for the ones that love me, but I mess up that a bit. It's like I do sometimes, or a lot. So it gets even finer than that. We human beings are only capable of connecting with and interacting with about 650 people. Yeah, 650. So the way that would work is how we're able to interact and deal with people. Let's start off with, we have our family of origin, those people that are in the family in which we were born. And perhaps there'll be one or two special siblings, or you have a real special connection with your mother or your father, or all of them there. So that's one group. Then just a step farther, a little bit farther away, there could be an aunt, an uncle, cousin that they would be really, really close to you to find them, very much like, the special one you're connected with at the early part. Then it spreads out a little bit more, and then there could be a neighbor you see every day, and you just kind of hang out and you're really pals. And then it expands out a little bit more, and there would be perhaps the people that you see at work every day, and then again, and you interact with them, and it spreads out a little bit more. And then there are the people who that you go to their store, or you see them in the grocery store, or they're the mechanic, or someone that and they do work for you, or in that realm. Then it spreads out some more, where you'll see people that from the neighborhood, like from out walking with your dog, saying hi to people and stuff like that. That's the next level out. And then the level after that one is you see someone around and they see you, but you only know them by distance. You only know them by seeing them, and you don't much talk to them, because so that's the level of relationship. We humans are only capable of connecting with around 650 people. That's about all that we're capable of. And just incidentally, in the olden days, most small towns were around 600, 650, 700, because that's about the most amount we can communicate, we can relate with. So 6 billion people on the planet. One group loves you because they do. One group hates you because they do. The group in the middle go from the love to beginning of hate. So there's that 3 billion. And in that 6 billion, there's only 650 you can interact with. So you have free choice and free will to hang out with anyone you choose. And the thing is, those that you hang out with, it's got nothing to do with you. It's what they see in you reminds them of themselves. And you can be around anyone. So That is what Robert has to say tonight. One of the things that I've learned about you is that you have a connection to angels. I have a bit of a confession. I do and give a lot of service in my work. My secret desire, like when this life is over, I would like to be. Have you ever seen that movie, City of Angels?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
My dream is to have that job. Although I would like to have emotion with it, but that's what I would love. That was what the job that I aspire to do when I complete this life. And so, is that the way you think of angels, or do you see things differently?
Yeah, I'd say yes and no to that.
Okay,
That's
which
an
is the yes part?
interesting
Yeah.
question. Nobody's
Okay.
ever asked me this. Yeah, to me they are definitely, beings from a faster vibration than we exist in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the term higher lower because that insinuates that something is better than, and I don't agree with that.
I like that.
But
That's true.
yeah, but not all angels have the same purpose or the same intention in what they are doing at
Oh,
this time.
what do angels do?
Yeah, the ones that are our personal ones that are with us,
Yes.
their purpose is to help us with our life lessons, the things that we wanted to learn and experience in this lifetime, and kind of keep us on track with that. And sometime when we need it, give us the spiritual clue by four. But there are other angels that are not people's personal angels. Some of those are known as archangels, and their purpose is still with the intention of helping others, but they kind of come and go as they are needed and as they are called upon.
Okay.
But yeah, there are others that they may be just as watchers. They're there to observe, so that and to record.
Okay. Do they talk to you?
Some more than others. They
So
can
they
be
do
just
talk to
like
you.
people. Yeah, some do. Some don't like to use the English language. And I don't speak any other language than English. So that can be an issue sometimes too.
Sure. So they talk to you, and if they use English, you understand them.
Right. Yeah, and some you just use pictures.
Okay. Mentally.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
okay. So I know that you didn't start doing that say 3 years ago.
Right.
So it's been longer.
Yeah, I started seeing other people's angels in January of '97.
How did that happen?
Yeah, that was just kind of one day I just realized I wasn't just seeing my own anymore.
Oh, okay. So when did you first see yours?
I started seeing my own after near-death experiences at the ages of 4 and 6. And they were just there for me. My personal ones are just there all the time.
Do you want to share it? The personal
the near-death experience.
Yeah.
I actually had ruptured hernias, so I had to have physical, life-saving surgeries.
You were just a baby.
Yes.
How did you get the hernias?
To be honest, I'm not sure. And though, I did have others that were discovered before it got to the point that they ruptured. And it's never really been figured out what caused them. I had a lot of kidney and bladder issues growing up as an infant, as a child, and actually continued to have those issues until I had children. And then something about my body chemistry changed, and I'm now probably one of the healthiest people you know.
Well, you look great for 50. So,
I wish I was just 50.
So I'm just thinking about this. Angels, you just always saw them? Is that
yeah, I
right?
really don't
Okay.
remember a time where I didn't. But and I don't see,
Okay.
it's kind of a contemporary, I guess would be the word for it, way that I see them, because I've never seen faces. Even in my near-death experience,
All right.
I did not see faces. I just see these shapes, of glowing light is the best, and they're
I
very transparent.
I understand. So you started seeing a lot of people that do this kind of work that you do, and like I do, have had traumatic backgrounds. Now, having near death experiences at 4 and 6, you've had traumatic background. Was there any other types of traumatic background that would bring this out? But
Not really, no.
well, good for you.
I grew up in,
Good for
a
you.
very religious household, a very
Oh,
strict household. But
how was
there really
seeing
wasn't
angels
traumatic.
and talking to angels received?
It was not.
No way.
It probably, I think around the age of 7,
Yeah.
my dad told me to quit telling those stories.
Uh-huh. Did you?
Yeah, I just quit talking about it. He
Okay.
told me to quit
Okay.
telling them.
All
He
right.
didn't tell, so that was, yeah, I continued to see and experience
Good.
everything that I had been. I just didn't talk about it anymore.
When did you start talking about it?
Start talking
Yeah.
about it again.
Yeah.
In 97.
Would you like to talk about the events of 1997? They seem
Yeah,
interesting.
as I started, I really got back into metaphysics probably about 1994.
Yes.
Um, and started out, watching some videos a friend of mine gave me of Drenville Melchizedek.
I'm sorry, say that again.
And Drenville Melchizedek, and he was doing the Flower of Life workshops.
Okay.
And and then I just kind of started meeting some different people. Went to a study group with
Were you
Keys
in
of
the
Enoch.
small? Were you a resident of a small town in Iowa, or were you in a more larger
That's
metropolis?
that's where I grew up.
Yes.
I moved to Kansas City in the mid 80s.
All right.
So I was being exposed to a lot more at that time. But and and I was started doing a daily meditation practice. I probably started daily on the 95, 96.
Now, during that time, you also were an artist. Is that correct? So you weren't.
No, I was
Oh,
not.
oh, oh, oh. Okay.
I dreamed of being an artist as a kid. High school art teacher told me not to bother.
Oh, yeah.
But and I just feel at this point it's probably because I wasn't really inspired. But they've actually, I consider myself really angel taught at this. So they've taught me how to draw and paint.
Okay. Wow.
But in
Is it?
97 in
Do
January.
do you think perhaps because of the strict religious background, if you would have painted, the angels would have come through, and you might have been in real big trouble?
Um, I definitely would have made my parents very uncomfortable. Definitely.
Okay. Okay.
Definitely.
All right. So you started being an artist when you were in 1997, the angels, when you were acknowledging and connecting with the angels.
Yeah. Yeah. And to be honest, I even argued with them probably the first 5 or 6 months
The angels?
after they asked me to start drawing them, because I had 2 teenage boys and 2 toddlers.
Wow.
As well as not knowing, how to do what that they were asking me to do. So I was a bit overwhelmed by that at the time. But after a while, I kind of had to give in and just started experimenting first with different mediums while I figured out what was going to work for me.
Which ones did you experiment with, and which ones did you find for you?
I experimented with watercolor first because
Mm-hmm.
that was probably the closest that I could think of in my mind of how to portray what I was seeing and how transparent they are.
Oh,
I
yeah.
learned very quickly that watercolor is probably one of the most difficult mediums there is.
Ah, okay.
So then I switched to pastels, and I used pastels for probably the first, probably 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
And then I just wasn't getting the detail. I didn't have the skill to get the detail that I wanted. So that's when I switched to color pencil, which is what I still use today.
And when did you start being able to create a piece of art with the angel and it be a type of reading or a way that you can teach or connect with someone?
I started doing that actually probably about in somewhere in 98.
How'd that happen?
I had already been going to a metaphysical store here in Kansas City and had become friends with the owner because I was one of her first customers.
Okay.
So I, just got, so I was kind of talking to her about what I was experiencing and what I was doing and starting to play with drawing them, the ones that I was seeing. And so I was just, started a couple, 3 times a year on a Saturday. I just go to her shop and do it for a love offering to start out with. And then eventually, as my kids got older, then I started doing some of the metaphysical fairs here in Kansas City.
And when did you start earning money, making a living for doing this service? How did that happen?
I didn't really go full time until 8 years ago. As I was raising my children, I had the corporate job that many of us have as a web designer and developer.
Oh, that's why your website's so good.
Oh, thank you for that.
Oh, that's
But
the reason. Okay.
yeah, but so then 8 years ago, as many people in the tech industry know, you tend to get laid off every 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
And I got laid off again because the company wasn't doing so well financially and poor management. And at that time, I just kind of decided I was done. I was done with the roller coaster. So that's when I converted to full time.
So when you do an angel reading or an angel art,
Angel portrait is how
an
I
angel
refer
portrait.
to it.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you. An angel portrait. Is there a difference between doing an angel reading, like me as a psychic doing a reading, or is it simply the angels are inspiring a portrait for that person, or is it?
Yeah, the main focus, is the portrait.
Okay.
Yeah, and we chat, I'll just chat with somebody throughout to get to know them a little bit.
So you do
and
it
then,
when you're talking with them. It's like, oh, that's
yeah,
fascinating.
and a session
Oh,
takes about an hour.
yes.
And then, whatever information that, I might, the angels give me, I do share with them whatever pictures, because they tend to give me, a lot of them give me like, as little snapshots of photographs. And I, well, and a lot of times it tends to be, are you familiar with this book or this author? Have you heard of these YouTube videos? Things like, it's a lot of that, talking to them about, meditation and different things like that comes up quite frequently.
Do you give them insights into themselves as you're creating that artwork, or do you give them guidance in how to deal with issues, or how to heal, or do you do that as well?
Sometimes if that's what comes up, or that, and sometimes that's what the person is looking for. And so that's what questions they are asking. So yeah, asking questions is very helpful because that gives permission, because angels have to, a lot of times need need permission to be of assistance. And that's why asking them for help can be, yeah, then, they're more likely to step in and be of assistance when you ask.
Do angels live in a pod or a cluster, or are they singular? How do they travel?
I'd say both. Yeah, the personal ones, because we all have everybody has minimum 3.
Really?
So they're gonna, those that are your personal ones, they are gonna kind of work together as a pod or a group. But there are others that are not, because there literally can be angels to with some animals, with some that assist with some businesses or spiritual groups. There can be angels for that tend to stay in certain areas, like particularly I've noticed that in parks, in public spaces.
Okay, we just can't see them. Do you? Or do you feel them?
I do see them, but they are very transparent. It's kind of like seeing that ray of sunshine that comes between the clouds. That's how translucent I see them. And I don't see them always in full form, and what we would think of as full form as having a body and wings and things. Some, because going to the grocery store, for example, would be kind of intense to see anywhere from 3 to 10 angels that somebody might have with them, each individual person at the store.
Right.
So I've kind of learned to turn the volume down a little bit, where I see them as like spheres of color. That's kind of like seeing a snow globe full of glitter.
So you see other people's angels. Do you see your own?
Yes, I do.
How many do you have in your pack? Is that I'm not being insulting, or I'm saying
you're
as
not.
a group.
I have quite a number, because I have what is called a planetary contract. So anybody that has a planetary contract, which you do as well, has
How did I get that?
12.
Oh,
it's an agreement you made in between your lifetimes before
because I don't remember signing that deal.
A lot of people with planetary contracts are here to help others on their spiritual journeys.
Do you know what your contract is?
I know a little bit about it. I do not. I've actually even learned more in the last 2 months about my spiritual contract than I did even before that.
How'd that happen?
It actually started up to a friend of mine who is a reader here in Kansas City, came up to me and goes, "What's going on with that zipper in your back?" And we found it in my kind of spiritual cloak that I wear to, be in this 3D body, 3D glove. I have there's a zipper in my back that makes it very easy for me to go into the spiritual realms at night when I'm sleeping.
Do you remember that?
I had, before she told me, I had no idea it was there. And
now?
I'm learning more about that and why and what it is I do at night all the time. I still don't know everything.
Would you take a guess at what you're doing at night now?
From what I'm being told at this time, it's best that I not share that. I know she literally waited 48 hours to get clearance to get that information.
Okay.
So it's not something that I'm really ready to share publicly.
Okay, thank you for that. So why do you have these skills?
During one of my near-death experiences,
4, 6, or
the one
in 97.
This is the one at 6. Part of it was I was shown kind of that moment
what was happening to you.
When the creator exhaled. And I was shown all these souls being created, including my own, and me and 2 other souls were kind of pulled aside and I guess recruited would be the best word to explain it, and asked to become what they use the word planet creator. I don't fully understand what that means, but they showed what it would be like if I did and what it would be like if I didn't. And now those exact details I do not remember, but yeah, I obviously, yeah, because my intention at that moment of my soul was to go to the angelic realm.
So what was causing you to be facing death on this side?
Yeah, that was, the ruptured hernias.
Okay.
For what,
Okay. All
so
right.
my physical body was in surgery at that moment.
I understand. Okay. Wow. Do you remember dreams in that time? What are you feeling right now? What are you going through?
Right now,
This very second. What was going through you?
I don't know.
Just pretend you do. Just take a guess at it.
Sometimes, yeah, I know when I'm talking, sometimes, sharing this sometimes can be difficult for me.
You look emotional.
I'm not always super comfortable sharing my near-death experience, and I'm not really sure why.
If I ask you a question and you're uncomfortable, whether we're having a personal conversation or one like this, it's always okay to say no.
But I also know it's I'm supposed to share my experience somewhat.
Okay, so what? All right, so what were you feeling back there then? What were you going through? Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I was completely someplace else and was not connected to my body at all during that time.
When we were just talking, then you were detached.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, it's like whenever I talk about my near-death experience, I do detach,
right?
And it's almost like it's just like I'm not fully back in that experience, but I am partially back in that experience.
And is that the same kind of feelings when the angels are working through you when you're creating a piece of art or sharing a spiritual? Is it the same thing?
It is, for me, it is very joyful. I really truly enjoy sharing that and helping others to connect with that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's, I do not go back to the experience.
Okay, so this, all right. By the way, thank you for sharing that. Thank you. That was really brave of you to do. Thank you. When did you discover you're brave?
I think I'm still discovering.
Really? Because from what I've experienced from you, you are brave.
I know. Even 2 years ago, I did not have the courage to reach out to people like I did with you.
Was there a spiritual reason? Did one of the angels say start doing it, or really? Is that what happened?
Yes. Yeah. I kind of get pushed a little bit.
Do you?
Because I'm somebody, I just as soon be kind of back in the corner doing what I do and not be doing, something like this that I know is going to go out and be seen by others and that I have no idea. Yeah. And even when doing, say, I do crystal singing bowl meditations, I would have just as soon been back in the corner set up when everybody had their, backs turned and exit the room before they even knew I was there.
Do you see yourself as a healer?
No. Even though I am a Reiki master, I've been trained in other modalities. I don't really think of myself that way. I more think of myself as somebody is to help others connect with that angelic realms, with those higher frequency spiritual realms. So I'm more of a connector, is the way I think.
Your job is to do the interview and then direct them? Is that, or just simply be the channel?
Yeah, just to be the channel to help others make that connection.
To their angels.
Yeah, to their angels and to other higher frequencies or faster frequencies.
Why would someone approach you for an angel portrait?
Yeah, I think that's individual for the person, but it's been everywhere from I want to talk to my angels, I want my angels to talk to me, or I'm going through a rough time and I need some help. I need some guidance. And everything you can think of in between there as to why people have come, and asked to work with me.
Do you plan to do when we're all get our freedom from this pandemic? Do you plan to do public speaking and public engagements? Incidentally, if you wanted, they'll be there for you. But
I am starting to do that just a little bit.
Okay.
Here during the pandemic, I've done it a little bit through Zoom.
Yes.
Do
you like
I
it?
am. Yeah, and I've been doing the angel portraits through Zoom as well.
Okay.
So I've gotten pretty comfortable with that.
Yeah.
I am going to be speaking at the Conscious Life Expo in LA.
When is that?
Next month. It's the very first weekend in February, around the 4th.
Yes.
So I am going to have a booth there, and I will be speaking on Saturday for an hour. I'm hoping that to be more of a question answer type thing, where
Yes.
I kind of tell my story a little bit and
Yes.
then let people ask me what questions they have about angels, or any of the other work that I do as well. But so, and that's where I'm most comfortable, is when people like ask me questions like you have done today.
Do you believe you're here for a spiritual purpose?
Yes, I do.
And do you believe your purpose is one of service?
Yes, most definitely.
What gives you that feeling?
Partly the peace when I do it.
What a fabulous conversation we've had today. I am so happy that you reached out to me. I really liked your energy. I was really impressed with your chutzpah, just doing what you did. And I thought you were going to be like really wacko and crazy, and you're pretty down to earth for doing a kind of job like what we do. And I'd like to thank you very much, one, for reaching out, and number two, for being here, and thank you.
Oh, thank you. And I really enjoyed, listening to some of your podcasts as well, and look forward to listening to more.
Thank you. My next guest, the main event, is Sara Troy. I've had the privilege of being on Sara's show a couple of times over the last year and a half. And we've also had a couple of personal conversations off the air as well. Sara is the owner of Self-Discovery Media and Community. But basically what that means is that she owns her own network, and she also does her own podcast as well in self-discovery. She's a teacher. She teaches beautiful concepts, and she does her podcast 5 days a week. And I have so many questions to ask her, and she's going to give us so many answers. I just can hardly wait. So let's just go talk to my friend, Sara Troy. Well, we certainly are having a different kind of experience, Sara. The first time we met, I was a guest on your podcast, and I had an extraordinary experience with you on that podcast. We can talk about it, but I'd like to welcome you now because you're on, a guest on my podcast, My Side of the Crystal Ball. So welcome.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
You're really successful, accomplished in many areas, and you and I have been on the air, on your show a few times, and we've had discussions off the air, and we talk about similar things, but I don't know what you do. So could you tell me what you do? Now I know you're involved with spirit and teaching and healing and all that kind of stuff, but how do you do that?
Well, primarily what I am is a podcaster with my own podcast network, interviewing extraordinary people like yourself.
Well, thank you.
And in doing that, I believe that those that are in their own self-discovery, who are looking for an answer, looking for a direction, looking for guidance, that my service is to provide to them the people that can help them on their journey of life. But my background is in soul awakening. I've always been.
Your job is a podcast host?
Yes, I do 5 shows a week.
Wow,
and I interview people from
that.
I have my own network, Self-Discovery Media. So it is a full-time job for me, 7 hours a day plugging at this.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's my main job.
Okay.
But the background the background is I'm a soul awakener, always have been. I've always been kind of the knowingness person, when somebody talking to me and then me coming up with an answer for them and way beyond maybe my comprehension. But it was something they needed to know at the moment that they needed to know it. And they go, well, how do you know that? And I don't know, because purely I was a channeler. I was a conduit for what they needed to know.
Was that when you were a child as well?
Yes, it's been my entire life. And I will find myself in places, a wrong direction. One time I was at the hospital waiting to have an appointment, and I'm wondering why I'm taking so long to get in. And this young man comes and sits next to me, and we have this conversation, and they call him in. And eventually this person comes out and he said, what department are you for? And I go, da. And he goes, you're in the wrong department. He said, did you speak to that young man? And I said, yes, I did. We had a lovely conversation. He said, you've had a bigger breakthrough with him in the moment that you had out here than I've had in the last 6 years with him. And it was purely because we soul talked. I didn't talk to his head and his problems. I talked to his heart and his soul. And everything I do comes from the heart and the soul. It's the only direction I know how to be honest in.
And do you do that as a service to clients, or do you just give people those blessings in your everyday life?
Now it's kind of everyday life. I do have a soul awakening series where I'm a true colors coach and a self-discovery of where we are right now, because when we understand who we are as a personality trait, we understand where we are right now. It gives us more fuel and clarity in order to where we need to go. So I do have that course. I haven't done it in a while because this has consumed all my time, but it's there for any time anybody does want it, and they can find that on choosepositiveliving.com. But now I find even in the shows that I do, I will suddenly step into a counseling mode because I'm a seer like you. And when we see, we have to share, because that's why we were given what we are seeing.
So in your, I'm just trying to think of where it's so open-ended. While you were talking about being a
true colors coach,
I'm looking at the color of your shirt.
Yes,
blouse, right?
Sweater, actually, it's cold up here.
The color of your eyes and the colors of some blues in the signs behind you, and I'm sure that was a coincidence, right?
I'm a blue person. I can't escape it. I'm a blue personality, which is air.
Right.
So I hate being, constrained. I need to flow. Everything about my life is about flow, and blue, even of the water. So blue is my color. It is my energy. It is my essence, but it is also in my personality type. Yeah.
I wear white because it makes me act nicer.
What color doesn't?
Well, white specifically does. And it's like I have to live up to what the color represents.
The white light, yes.
The white light. And I find that I'm far more controlled in my irritations, or things that really make me angry, or I just find that when I'm wearing white, which I do a lot now, because I behave better.
Yeah, I would. I very often do wear kind of creamy whites and whites and things,
Right.
which I do like that that color. But I don't know what it is about the blue. I notice I keep pulling towards blues, all different shades of blues, because blue is definitely me. I used to wear black a lot when I was blonde. Now I'm gray. I don't wear black anymore.
All right, so I've never been blonde, but I also used to wear lots of black all the time.
Yeah, and it just doesn't, it's not me any. I can wear black and white or black and something, but I can't wear the solid black anymore, where it used to be a statement. But it was interesting because I was doing a course one time and I was wearing a black jacket. And a woman said to me, and she said, I can't buy this. And I said, what do you mean? She said, you in the black jacket. I've seen you colorful. I buy you more as that. And I stopped wearing kind of the suit type things and I went in as Sara, right? So it was a good lesson learned.
Well, black gives you a kind of protection. And a lot of us people that do this type of work wear black, and it is it does keep a lot of energy out. It is protective.
Yeah. I suppose because I'm doing this right now, I think one of the things that I've learned to do is I used to be so protective of my vulnerability, of my spirituality, because I was around the wrong energy.
Right. Okay.
You know, and now I'm not around the wrong energy.
Sure.
You know, the people I get to interview are people that I know that are on an equivalent type vibration. And so I don't need to worry about that. I can be as flamboyant as I want, you know, and I'm okay. Right. And if I'm out and about, you know, I am particular about the energies that I hang out with. And I think it's because I'm not in that protective mode anymore. That I'm, you know, I don't wear the black. However, I still do have black items and I still do wear them now and again. That's more when I'm traveling.
What brought you to that awareness that you're safe?
Oh,
I had to ask.
Oh, no, you did. And it's a good question because it was, you know, everybody thinks that everything happens of the bells ring and there you are in that moment. And it was a realization when I was going through my separation and consequently my divorce of my husband, that I realized I had been every other color everybody wanted me to be, but my own. I bent into a pretzel. I had been switching up anything that they wanted me to be, and I'd lost myself entirely. And I'd even lost my heart and soul connection for a long time. Although I was still doing readings and still counseling people, I never came up in a reading of myself. People would read for me and say, but Sara, you're not in your own life. Right? I kind of absent from my own life. And it was that a woman who actually, with a pendulum, had removed 152 lifetimes from me. And I had the brick wall in front of me and I can never get through that brick wall. I couldn't go over it, under it, couldn't abolish it, couldn't do anything with it. And through those 152 lifetime removals, that wall came down. And suddenly the path before me was of my choice. I didn't feel the pushback anymore. I felt this is a blank slate. I can go in my own self-discovery of who is Sara from the core, not from what other people want it to be. So it was a journey of my own exploration into me becoming and stepping into my heart and soul in security.
Okay. Removing 152 lifetimes. Were there any left over?
Yes.
Or okay.
Yes.
Well, okay. So did you?
I've been around a while.
so removing 152 past lifetimes.
Yes.
All right. And there's a whole lot left over. How did you know which ones to let go of? And did you know what each one was, or is there just a feeling like, oh, this is good, this is bad, get rid of this, get rid of that?
That was up to her who was removing it. So she was removing it, and like, she used a pendulum.
Okay.
A person who used it, and in doing that, and I went through all sorts of kind of not contortions, but feelings as she was doing it, sure. Right? And so, you know how sometimes you get a feeling of being a person. Oh, where did that come from? You know, and that can be kind of a flashback or just, you know, revisit from a past life or memory or something. And I would have a few things of those. I thought I'd got rid of all the lifetimes until I went to someone else who was working with me on a cellular level. She was releasing pain and she was releasing entrapments. And then she went down and she said, for the past 50 lifetimes, because I came to this world as a soul awakener, a connector to the universal energy and love. And that is what I was always here to do. And I elected to stay and do it.
Did you know that?
I have a memory of it. I have a memory of who I used to be. And that was in part of my self-discovery, that realization came to be. And I've always had an image of what I am when I'm not in this body. So it's always been that. I'm funny enough blue. So maybe that's why I'm so attached to the blue, right? But when this woman worked on me, she said, for the past, I've had 50 lifetimes of where a vow of poverty, which we've talked about, you know, which, you know, I've obliterated that contract, but it still kind of hangs around. And I'd also had past lifetimes of persecution, torn and quartered, burnt at the stake, and everything else as a witch, because I've always been this spiritual person. And she managed to release a great deal of those, which I didn't realize it was there.
As a highwayman as well.
Yeah, I know I've been a villain along the line too. I know I've been an executioner too. So I had a very distinct memory of that. Yeah.
Right. Was those releasing of those past lives, did that also give the insight of your relationship not working or time to grow? Was there a correlation?
The relationship was not working at all.
Right.
What it did, it gave me permission to place value upon myself and find the courage and the strength to move forward. Stop being a prisoner.
Right.
And quintessentially, those past lives, and especially the last 50 of, you know, persecution, burnt at the stake, there was a fear, I think, of persecution again, right? And so it was breaking out of my prison and stepping into being me. But I had to discover who I was. I knew what I could do, but I didn't know who I was.
Yes, I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that. I was thinking of something and it just slipped my mind because I got so focused on what you were saying. Do you do counseling with people now, or are you just doing your show?
I don't know. It's like people reach out to me.
Okay.
I can even go before COVID off, you know, I used to go off to little places. I'd go to a little Dutch place I liked where I liked their particular pastry and go for a coffee and a pastry. And there'd be somebody sitting next to me and it would end up in a conversation.
Right.
And in that conversation, there'd always be a touch of counseling. There is always that going on. Always somebody who has an issue. And I just seem to be able to have an answer for them at that time. Doesn't mean it's the be all and the end all. It's just something that can help them see it from a different point of view and take action.
Now that's interesting. Now I myself are different. I don't want those kinds of interactions with people.
I can't help it. It happens.
Yeah, I don't want it. But on the other hand, I'm always on guard for an emergency to occur.
Right. Right.
And I'm always ready to give aid if an emergency is going to occur or somebody needs a kind gesture. But in terms of interacting and stuff, I don't want to do that at all.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's anyway,
It's whether I want to or not.
Right.
It's going to happen. And I just know
Really?
that. Yeah. I went on a cruise. Actually, this is funny. I went on a cruise in my late 40s.
So like,
and it was like
5 years ago?
18 years ago. And I went on this cruise kind of single in training. I thought, kind of a way to kind of get to know people again, being single. And of course, I was in my late 40s and the next age group was 70s. So,
Yes.
nobody's single there at all. And I was reading The Alchemist at the time. And I would go and find myself a comfy little seat. And I always like to be near windows and light and things like this. And I'd end up with people talking to me. I would end up, it didn't matter where I went, unless it was my room. It didn't matter where I went. People would end up coming over to me. And I just know that's just the way it is. I can't fight it. And I just believe, though, obviously, if they've seeked me out or if they felt that energy, it's not that I'm inviting it. It's
okay.
They're seeing it. And then I feel, I have to respond to it.
Is that a spiritual or moral obligation that you must do?
The spirit comes before the moral, because automatically as they're talking to me, I'm beginning to see.
All right. So you must respond.
I have to, yeah.
Okay. So no, now I myself believe that I have free choice and free will, even though I see something's going on. I can choose to take the assignment or not.
Right. No, I believe that if it's given to me, it is for a reason, and it's not for me to hold back. And I give it. And it actually, it's being spoken before it's being thought.
Huh. So one of the things that I do a lot is give out money to homeless people, and I give like pretty large quantities, like $40 at a
that's a big amount for them. Yeah.
Yes. Well, what I do is I give the person the day off.
Yes, exactly. Or maybe 2 days off, depending where they are. Yeah.
Right. So, and I also have a talk with them too. Nothing serious. I just interact with them, but I pick and choose.
No, I'm chosen.
I pick and choose who gets the coins.
Yeah.
And when someone's going to receive it, I'm there. I'm aware. And when I'm not going to do that, I have a defense, and I can often mostly look the other way.
You see, I don't perceive it as any form of attack. I don't perceive it any form as a negativity. Is that if it's coming out of me at that time,
sure, it's
just purely the two channels are open. That person's ready to receive, and I'm ready to give, and I just do. So the strangest thing is actually with people and I have some wonderful friendships, and they're all on different levels, and a couple of people see me as the spiritual person that I am, and we can have spiritual talk. I have a bestie who is, anytime anything's gone wrong in my life, she's been there. She speaks about my shows all the time, although she's never listened to one. She doesn't quite get what I do, but she's a massive advocate, right? So obviously I'm in a different channel with her. I have other people that have come to me where seeking questions or this, that, or just had a conversation, and then afterwards don't want anything to do with me. And part of that is they've shared their vulnerability, and it's in trust. There's no animosity there. But afterwards, as I know too much about them now, and they're on guard. You know what I mean?
All right. Just one question.
Too far out for them.
So you don't do regular, like daily counseling readings? No. Okay. See, that's the difference.
Yes.
Right. That's the difference. That's what up until recently has been what I do.
Yes, exactly.
So when I'm doing that every day,
right.
When I go out, I'm not going to be looking for more ways to do it.
Right.
Okay. No. So that would be perhaps why I have a different focus.
Yeah. And I suppose you can say that when I'm interviewing, Right. You know, people, do you have questions for me? Or here they send me questions. I just kind of look at the essence of the person, the energy of the person, certain things we're going to talk about. And as you know, it's organic. And off we go. And I feed the energy, and very often it goes off on a different world all on its own. And I think, well, that's obviously where it's meant to go. Right. And it's I have people saying to me, I've never told anybody that, and I've just gone and told your audience.
Sure.
So I allow the energy to take us where it needs to go. So I suppose in the way that kind of channeling what I was doing there is now here in what I do here.
Tell me a little bit more about your color program. Mm-hmm. I'm not using the right terms, but it's something to do with color. Is it about wearing the right color? Oh, no. Okay. What is it?
So True Colors is a Myers and Briggs program. It's an identification of your 4 key personalities. And we have 4 key personalities that we work on. Microsoft, many other companies will actually take people through a True Colors test to identify which personality they are, to know whether they're going to fit into the team or not. And have you ever read the book Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson, MD?
Well, no.
Brilliant book. And he kind of originally told the story like metaphorically, and it was on changes in business and how certain personalities hate change and others, you know, are all up for it. And it's the 4 key personalities that are in that book as well. And you'll see it over and over again being used. And when you can identify what is your key personality, you know, that's how you're going to perceive your information. That's how you're going to interact in your information. And this is why I'm always saying in a business, it's always good to have all 4 personalities represented, so that when you sit around the table, I see it from this point of view, I see it from this point of view, now you've actually got a whole picture. So because each person is going to see it from their perception, but I then take it a little further and do their view of life. And I take them on a metaphorical journey. And each one of those steps of those journeys tells me if they're engaged in their life, if they're avoiding certain things, if they're switched off, or if they're paying attention. So, and it's an awareness of where you are right now and the fact that you're not engaged in your own life, and understanding your perception of your personality, whether you're engaging or switched off from your life. Then I actually then go into a reading, which is more of understanding what your options are and where you can go, what your possibility, because I'm a possibility seer, of seeing what paths are in front of you. And so you're armed with, I am this is what I need to actually engage more in my life. And these are the possibilities that lay before me. So that's my course there.
Is it a one-on-one or is it a group?
No, I can do groups, but I prefer to do one-on-one because it takes it a little while. They do fill out a questionnaire. I've got to do all of that. I literally write everything out for people. I have a Zoom call with them. I go through every step, and then I just do this reading afterwards of what I see for them in what they know now, in that clarity of who they are now, what paths lay before them. And so they have a better understanding of where to go to. I can't walk it for them. I can just lay out a path for them.
So this is this something that is you would see the person, your client, repeatedly, or once a week for this is
no.
one
So
shot
it basically, they can do it online. They can fill out the questionnaire. They send it to me. Yes. I work on the questionnaire and all the answers. I then do a Zoom call, which is recorded.
Right.
And I go through all of the answers with them and what they mean and what it means to their life. And then I kind of do that perception reading for them. They get the audio of everything. So they've got it for their own thing afterwards. And it just becomes, I call it the guidance system. So,
How did you come about that?
Actually, the interesting thing, I mean, the True Colors I discovered in 2001. I did a business course and this woman was teaching it. And she had an autistic child, and I went over to see her, and I read for her autistic child, and I got 45 minutes of attention from him, and he was severely autistic. And in doing that, I could actually tell her what was going on inside of his mind. And it was not what she thought it was. And she told me afterwards that I have more perception of what the True Colors really meant to someone. Not from the analytical point of view, but from the, the personal point of view, and that she encouraged me to do it. But the view of life is something I learned from an Italian psychiatrist, when I was 20 in 1975 in Italy, who took me under his wing, and he gave me this and he said, go with it, this is yours. And it's really quite remarkable, because it's just like, you're going here, you're going there, what do you see, what do you do? It's reactions, and it tells me a great deal of the person. I can do that singularly, I can do that within a group, just that program. But the whole thing I do just one-on-one. I've worked a lot with couples actually too, because couples are different personalities. Yeah.
Of course. How long would a session like that be?
Well, once they filled out all the questionnaire, it can take me a while to go through everything. So, and then when I'm doing the session, I'm at least 2 hours, at least.
All right. Doing the session and
just doing the session, not all the other stuff.
So, and the prep would take?
It depends.
Okay.
Some parts of it quickly, some parts of it not. But I at least another hour. So it's at least a 3, maybe 4 hour process.
Wow. Oh, okay. So, and you haven't done that, or you have done that recently, or?
Not recently. No, I did. No, I haven't, because when COVID came out, if I'm going to write my book, I'm going to pick this up again. I ended up doing 8 or 9 shows a week.
Wow.
And each show is a 4 to 5 hour production. So, I had no time. Then I became a grandmother. So there was time with him.
And congratulations, by the way. I know that I've said it to you before, and we knew each other just before your first child was born.
Yeah, I know. He's, and talk about an intuitive boy. This little boy's got it
already.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing an accent, obviously. And I also know that you're on the west coast of Canada. They don't have those accents by natural.
No.
All right. So
I'm British born.
Because I was going to say that it's a mixture of accents. Right. So British born. Where?
I'm British born at 14 in Lincolnshire. And then my mother and I went out to live in South Africa. So you're hearing a little bit of South African accent. That's where the rhythm comes from.
And where in South Africa?
I was in Cape Town and Johannesburg.
Okay.
Johannesburg we used to call Jailburg. And I lived in a place called Hillbrow. We called Hillbrow.
and was that during apartheid?
Yes, I left before apartheid came to an end.
Wow.
It's one of the reasons I did leave, actually, the misogyny and the apartheid, and just especially Johannesburg. It's a soul-sucking place because it's all concrete, and there was a lot going on at that time, a lot of violence, and so I had to get out of there. And I am better near water. I need to be near water and trees, which of course we had none there. And so I came to Canada, and I was going to be here for a year. And then I met my ex-husband. And so that changed life altogether. And I've been here 41 and a half years now, and divorced 21.
All right. I visited South Africa the first time was less than a year after apartheid had ended. And the first place that I went to in South Africa was Durban.
Well, this is a lovely country too, lovely place, very hot,
and
very humid.
And what I found remarkable, because I knew the background, I found remarkable as I would see Black people walking on the beach that 10 months ago they would have got shot for being on.
Right. Yes.
And they were walking on it. And there were white people and colored, as in colored, and this is a race. I'm not. That's not a slang.
Right.
Being colored is a race in South Africa, as well as Asian, and they were all walking together. And there was a white guy and a Black guy walking together, and it was quite an astonishing thing to experience.
Yeah, no, I used to get into trouble because I worked at a restaurant that we closed around 4 5 at night.
Yeah.
And one of the waiters, well, he wasn't a waiter, so he would clean dishes and do all of that. And he would walk me home, but he wasn't allowed to walk within 6 feet of me. So we walked 6 feet apart talking to each other. And one day I came into work and he was not there anymore. And what do you mean he's not there? The police picked him up. Why did they pick him up? And at that time, there was a lot going on. And they were just picking them up. They were taken to jail and accused them of something. There were no rights. There were no lawyers. They would just go missing and nobody would ever know what would happen to them. And there was a lot of that going on. I remember New Year's Eve in Hillbrow. What was it? 74 or something. I can't remember which year it was. And we're all up in Hillbrow celebrating, and everybody came out. I mean, it was such a cosmopolitan place, Hillbrow, and you had every race out there and everybody was in cheer. Suddenly the police come along and they come out with their riotous sticks and they start hitting everyone and hurting everyone. It didn't matter what color you were. And I remember running, I had clogs on, and they snapped in half, and I'm running with one clog and one foot, and we're literally running for our lives. And it was extremely violent at that time. There was the Yugoslavian mafia there. If you sat at their seat, they would pick you up and throw you down the stairs or through a glass window. It was a very violent place, Hillbrow. That's why we called it Hillbrow.
Well, this isn't necessarily the right time, but I'd like to share one of my experiences when I first went to South Africa, and I was going there to do some shows, and I went early because I just wanted to get a sense of what the country was like. So I stayed with my friend who owned a gas station. And you know, it was only less than a year after apartheid, and gas pumpers were black. The Muslims and the Indians, they did the more detailed kind of jobs, and the guy that owned the place was white. And I was sitting around there all day doing nothing, and I was getting bored, and I asked my friend, and I said, "Can I pump gas?" And he said, "Oh, you better be careful. You know, you got to get permission from the Zulus."
Yeah.
And now my friend had told the Zulus that I was a muti. Now muti is like a witch doctor, but they're like heavyweight witch doctors. But being white in a muti made me like the white rhino. So these guys were afraid of me. They didn't want me to pump gas with them, but they were too afraid to say no.
Right.
So I started, and my friend had 9 pumps, 10 gas pumpers, and the service was terrible. and all of a sudden, I just got into pumping gas for fun, but almost all the clients were black, colored, Asian, and I was giving service to these people, and it was the first time in their life they had ever been given service by a white person. Man.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And well, that was an incredible honor for me. Anyway, that's one of my most beautiful experiences, giving service. And anyway, it's a whole long other story, but that was
it's a beautiful country. It's still in turmoil. You know, unfortunately, it always takes a few generations before things kind of find an equilibrium again. And of course, you know, with Omnicom and everything else, it's been hit really hard. I have a nephew there, and you know, it is. I mean, one of the reasons I did leave, you know, was, as I said, the misogyny was just unbelievable. In work, in everything, and also, you know, this whole racism thing I just couldn't take anymore. And but I was actually going back to the States because I lived in the States for a few months, and I was going back there, and I came via Canada.
So how did we get you? How did we luck out?
Because I had friends who were British that I met in South Africa.
I see.
And they left, you know, he got a job offer, and they went back to England, and they were going to go to America. And I said, "No, you're not going there." "What do you mean we're not going there?" "He's been offered a job." I said, "No, something's going to come up in Canada for you." And even though they had me read for them, every time I read for them, it was, "No, it's not going to happen." It did. And then they said, oh, you're right, we're moving to Canada. And so I came over, and I'm going to come here for a year and just experience it, because I've heard all about Canada.
Where did you land?
In British Columbia.
Oh, okay. Well,
so I've always been in BC.
You're not going to be leaving there then, if that's where you land.
No. Right. And also, although no, we don't have the beautiful white beaches and the beautiful sea or the weather, the lifestyle is very similar to Cape Town. So, a lot of people that were from Johannesburg go to Toronto, and then Cape Townians or Durbanites come here.
During the fleeing of South Africa, some of the people that left, they called Toronto, or Toronto was called in South Africa Toronto, and it was a derogatory remark. It was.
Is it?
Oh, well, yeah. Well, Toronto implies you're abandoning the nation, and that was and we were bringing them in, but it wasn't per. But
I know. I mean, people couldn't take their money out, and people were fearing for their lives. I mean, it was. I literally, I've seen stabbings and shootings and murder, and had attempt on my own life and everything there.
So you got here, when you got off the plane, you said, "This is it, home."
No, not at all. I really liked it. I mean, the funny thing is that I thought that Canada would be, here would be so much more progressive than where I had left. And I was finding like fashion and many things were not. And I was going, oh, okay, this isn't as progressive. But I was working under the table in a French restaurant owned by a Chinese gentleman with a Japanese chef.
Isn't that fabulous?
Yes. And then this guy came in who was Chinese, and he started chatting me up. And then the next day I had on the phone one guy who was asking me out, and this other guy asking me out. And I knew the one guy was in the middle of a divorce, and I thought no. And I said yes to the other guy, and it turned out to be my future husband.
Wow.
So that, and then that of course took me down a whole different road, because, he's Asian. And it took me into the Asian world, which I loved. I love Asian food, and I loved the world. And obviously we had mixed children, which I think make very beautiful kids. But it was, again, I just seemed to be, my vibration at that time seemed to attract the misogyny. And so it was not a good relationship. And again, that was, he fell in love with me for my spirit, and then systematically wanted to dampen the spirit. Yeah. So that's, what's the story of my life at that time.
Right. At this stage of your life, being so successful in your career, your family has expanded. You're a grandmother now.
Yes.
Is your heart still open or receptive?
Yes.
Yes.
It's actually funny, because somebody put something out on Facebook yesterday about people that have been alone for a long time. And I'm 67. I've been alone for quite a long time, and it's we get so comfortable with our.
Certainly do.
It's like. Do I want somebody full time? Do I want to wash someone's shirts? So, do I want to go through all of that again? It's questionable, but at the same time, I miss the hugs. I miss going out for dinner with someone, going to the theater with someone, doing something with someone. And it's like, if we're both living in our own places, who knows? But yes, I'm open, but there will be no bending into a pretzel. It's as Popeye says, I am what I am. You take me for what I am, and that's that.
So when you complete this existence, what do you want to be known for?
Well, I have a reputation for being a woman of heart, because I do everything come from the heart. It's the only place I know to be honest. I hope that I have made a difference in people's lives for the better, whether it's a drop or whether it's a lot, that I'm remembered fondly for being somebody who cared, who tried, and who wanted to help people on their journey of life.
If that day were this day, but it's not,
No.
would that be said of you already?
I think so.
Okay.
Yes, I think so. I have. It's kind of interesting where I go. My son has a restaurant, and when I'm over there, if he has a do, I'm there. And I'm apparently everybody's mama, and you know, everybody already knows me to be that. In fact, his current girlfriend I introduced him to. So, yeah, I think that reputation already precedes me. And it was actually interesting. There was another posting where people who are the closest to you know you for how they want to see you.
Yes.
Where other people that you work with, or, you know, in this persona, people see you for who you are.
Okay.
Right. And it's very, very true. So each person is going to have their own memory of me or their own perception of me. And one of the things I realized that is not in my control.
However, the results of your work, when I asked you the question, if this were your last moment, would you feel that you've been successful? And your answer was, yes, I feel that. Then, Sara, you are already. So congratulations.
Thank you. I'm coming into my 10th year of podcasting this year.
Wow.
And this certainly was the path I was meant to take. And, you know, I've met extraordinary people like yourself who, you know, you're givers, you're sharers. And that is, you know, I'm firm believer in service. You know, I'm firm believer in sharing and giving and being of service, because I think the receiving is in the service. And the greatest gift you can give is of yourself and whatever skill that you have. And I've got to interview some of the most extraordinary people that have become friends. Right. You know, maybe only friends like this. We may never physically meet, but that doesn't make us any less friendship, right? And so I've been very, very honored and blessed with the community that I've built. And it's wonderful. It's really, truly wonderful to have that.
When we talk, the time goes so fast, just as it has now. I am grateful for you joining me today. And thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you. And you can come back on with me anytime.
Well, that brings us to the end of another exceptional, exciting, and exemplary show, just as my guests were. And I'd like to thank Sara Troy in the main event, spiritual teacher, owner of Self-Discovery Podcast Network and Community, as well as podcast host herself. And I'd also like to thank Susan Water, intuitive visionary artist, angel channeler, and just a nice person. I'd like to thank them both for being on. And before I say goodnight, I just have a couple of requests. If you're watching us on YouTube, please like, comment. Comments are important for us, and subscribe to the channels. And subscriptions are complimentary and gets us lots of higher ratings. So please subscribe, and it'll keep you in touch with us, and you'll never miss one of our podcasts. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, and pretty much anywhere else you are listening to your podcast. If you'd like to get in touch with me personally, you can find me on my website, www.robertlindsay.com. I'm still doing readings these days, so you can give me a shout there. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. That's it for tonight. And just before I'm saying goodbye, I'd like to say, do good, stay safe, and above all, just be kind. Good night, everybody.